They didn't deserve the chase. They deserved the consequences. Let that one sink in, because while you were out there breaking your back to keep the connection alive, texting first, checking in, giving chances, forgiving lies, they were busy treating you like a backup plan. And now, the truth is standing right in front of you, clear as day. They didn't deserve your loyalty. They deserved to lose it. So before we break this down, do me one favor. Press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me until the end. Because today, we're not chasing anyone. We're becoming the storm that makes them realize exactly what they lost. Hey folks, imagine this. You're standing in the middle of a desert. You're dehydrated, thirsty, tired. But you're chasing the wind, barefoot, bleeding, believing that if you just run faster, maybe the wind will turn around and finally hold you. But it never does. That's what it's like when you keep running after someone who doesn't want to be caught. You bleed for someone who doesn't care you're wounded. You give everything you have, and they walk away like it was never enough. That's not love, my friends. That's self-destruction disguised as hope. Let's call it what it is. You chased someone who treated you like a doormat. They walked on your kindness, wiped their insecurities on your empathy, used your heart like a punching bag every time their ego needed validation. And still, you stayed. Still, you texted. Still, you hoped. But now, it ends here. Because from this point forward, your worth is not up for negotiation. You are not a vending machine of love waiting for the right code. You are the code. And they lost access. You want to know what happens when you stop chasing, when you stop showing up for someone who never showed up for you? They feel it, even if they never admit it, because your presence wasn't just convenient, it was powerful. You were the calm in their storm, the one who gave meaning to their chaos. And now that you're gone, they're not celebrating, they're surviving, and barely. Here's a truth bomb they'll never say out loud. They thought you'd never leave. They thought you'd keep texting, keep forgiving, keep offering your heart like it was trash they could toss and pick up again when they were bored. But they miscalculated, because now your silence is louder than their fake peace. And your absence, that's the punishment they can't escape. Remember this quote, "A lion doesn't chase sheep, and your soul wasn't made for begging." The moment you walked away, you didn't lose them. You found yourself. You reclaimed your fire. You reminded the universe, I don't settle for crumbs. I burn the whole damn table if I'm not served right. So today isn't about proving anything to them. It's about remembering who the hell you are, the prize, the power, the one they'll remember in silence because they don't have the courage to face what they lost. Say this with me and type it in the comments right now. I stopped chasing. I chose peace. Let it burn through every lie you told yourself about needing them. Let it echo in your bones like a vow you'll never break again. So go ahead, press that like button, subscribe to this channel, and stay with me, because next we're going deep into the psychology of what really happens when you walk away and why they start breaking down the moment you stop showing up. 1. The more you chase, the less they respect you. What runs from you isn't yours to keep. Say it out loud. Let it slap the illusion right out of your chest, because chasing someone who walks away from you isn't noble. It's emotional suicide. It's you handing your self-respect over like a doormat, just so someone can wipe their fear of intimacy all over it and still blame you for getting dirty. And deep down, you knew it. You felt it, but you ran anyway, didn't you? Hoping they'd stop, hoping they'd turn around. But let's break the lie once and for all. The more you chase, the less they respect you. Imagine this, my friends. You're holding a watering can. Every drop inside it is your time, your love, your words, your loyalty, and you're standing over a plant that's already dead, brown, wilted, no life left. But you keep watering it, you keep talking to it, you keep waiting for a miracle that never comes, and the more you water it, the more the soil turns to mud. And now, you're not just dealing with something dead, you're standing in filth, wasting your effort on something that already made its decision. It didn't want to grow with you. That's what it's like when you chase someone who already decided to devalue you. You become noise, background noise, disposable, replaceable. They see you not as a prize, but as an option, an emotional convenience, someone they can ignore for days, then throw a breadcrumb to, just to keep you hooked, just to keep the ego fed. And you, in your silence, in your heartbreak, in your craving for closure, you bite that breadcrumb like it's a feast. You want to know why they stopped calling, why they stopped replying with heart, because you trained them. You taught them that your love has no cost, that your effort doesn't need effort in return, that your presence is available no matter how little they give. That's what chasing does. It tells someone, you don't need to value me, I'll do that for both of us. And when that happens, you don't just lose them, you lose you. Some of you are sitting there right now, staring at your phone, waiting, over-analyzing that last message. Did I say too much? Should I apologize? Maybe they're just busy. Maybe I'm being dramatic. No, my friend, you're not being dramatic, you're being disrespected. And the worst part, you're participating in it. Let me scold you a bit, and I say this with love. How dare you forget your value just because someone else failed to see it? How dare you treat yourself like clearance rack love? You think a lion chases rats? No, a lion watches. A lion chooses. A lion walks away from noise that doesn't match its roar. But here you are, turning your worth into a coupon, offering your heart like it's on sale, hoping someone who threw it in the trash will change their mind. Let me tell you something they'll never admit. They never respected the chase. They used it. They took your effort as flattery, not value, your apologies as weakness, your messages as confirmation that they had you wrapped around their silence. And every time you reached out again, it told them, I don't think I'm enough without your attention. But the truth is, you were never the problem. You were just showing up in a place where your value wasn't seen. And instead of walking away with your head high, you kept knocking on the same locked door, praying they'd answer with love. But folks, you've got to understand something. Doors that stay closed after your third knock don't need knocking. They need leaving. You don't stand in front of disrespect, hoping it transforms. You turn your back and you walk. You walk not to get revenge, not to make them chase you back. You walk because staying would cost you your soul, because if you have to chase it, it was never yours. It never respected your presence, and anything that only moves when you run after it. That's not love. That's control. I know it's hard. I know you're scared. But what if they forget me? What if I walk away and they never come back? Good. Let them go. Let them vanish. Because you're not healing to be remembered. You're healing to be reborn. You're not chasing to fix something broken. You're choosing peace over pain. And guess what? They won't forget. They never do. They might not say it. They might not show it. But they will remember the one who used to break over them, and now walks past them like a stranger. That haunts them. That's what they fear. Say this out loud and type it below in the comments. I am not chasing trash. Say it with your chest. Write it like a promise. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that your love is no longer a charity for people who can't even show up with bare minimum effort. 2. Your absence is their awakening. Your silence will introduce you better than your words ever could. Read that again. Not with your eyes. Read it with your chest. Because the truth is, they didn't take you seriously when you spoke. They didn't listen when you explained. They didn't flinch when you cried. Why? Because they were too comfortable, too spoiled by your presence, too drunk on the idea that you'd never leave. They thought your loyalty was unconditional. They thought your energy would always be available on tap, like background music. They could mute when they were bored and turn up when they were lonely. But now, you've gone silent. And that silence, that's the sound of the empire they built on your emotional labor, collapsing. Let's get something clear, my friends. Your absence is not passive. It is not weakness. It is not surrender. It is a statement, a shift, a thunderclap in the soul of someone who thought they could get away with taking you for granted. It's not just physical absence. It's spiritual withdrawal. You didn't just stop texting. You unplugged their access to your light. You closed the valve. You stopped feeding their ego with your love. And now they feel it, even if they pretend not to, especially then. Imagine this, a house filled with warmth. You're the one who kept the heater on. You brought the blankets. You made it feel like home. But they treated it like a hotel, complained, demanded, left messes behind. And then one day you leave. You don't slam the door, you don't make a scene, you just take the warmth with you. Now the house is still, it's clean, but it's cold. Cold in a way they never knew it could be. Because you weren't just there. You were the reason it ever felt like something worth staying in. That's the power of your absence. It doesn't shout. It whispers in their bones. It haunts them in the quiet. You see, people get used to light. They don't think about the sun until it sets. They don't think about breath until it's gone. That's what you were. Their breath, their light, their secret anchor. And when you walk away, not in rage, but in indifference, that's when the alarm bells start going off in their soul. You were not dramatic. You were dedicated. You weren't clingy. You were consistent. You weren't asking for too much. You were asking for the bare minimum, but they were too broken, too distracted, too shallow to give it. So now they sit in the echo of your silence. And guess what? It's loud. It's deafening. Because when someone's used to you showing up, even after they insulted you, ghosted you, cheated you, embarrassed you in silence, your absence is like losing a mirror. A mirror that reflected back a version of themselves that they only felt safe being around you. And now they're crumbling, they're confused, but their ego won't admit it, so they'll post, they'll party, they'll flirt, they'll pretend it never happened. But that's all it is. Pretend. Because inside, the system is glitching, the illusion is cracking, they feel the shift, and it terrifies them. You were the calm in their storm, the stable one, the listener, the forgiver, the one who remembered their favorite songs, their triggers, their wounds, even when they forgot yours. And now that your energy is off the table, every other connection they touch feels counterfeit. Why? Because you were real. Because you were rare, because you were the one thing they never thought they'd lose, until it was already gone. So don't you dare think for a second that your absence doesn't matter. It does. It hits. It lingers. It shifts the air in every room they enter. Not because you were dramatic, but because you were consistent. And now you're not. You were a routine, a safe place, and now you're a ghost. And that ghost? It's not friendly. It's a reminder of what they had and what they'll never get back. Say this in the comments and make it your truth. My absence woke them up. Type it with pride. Let it remind you that silence is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's the highest form of clarity. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that your worth doesn't beg. It walks away and lets the silence do the talking. Stay with me, because next we're ripping the mask off their fake peace and exposing the panic behind every smile they post without you. 3. The panic behind their fake peace. They look calm on the surface, but that's how ships sink. That's the illusion they're selling, my friends. That they're fine, that they've moved on, that your absence didn't even shake them. But let me rip that lie in half right now. They are not fine. They are not peaceful. They are not free. What they are is panicking behind the performance, smiling with trembling lips, laughing while sinking, posting like everything's perfect while their insides are a leaking ship, slowly flooding with the regret they swore they'd never feel. You ever seen a ship take on water? On the surface it looks smooth, still, calm, but below, it's chaos. Pipes bursting, steel groaning, water rising, and by the time anyone notices it's going down, it's already halfway swallowed. That's them right now. They're putting on a show, folks. For you, for the world, for themselves. Because the truth is too heavy to carry in public. So they stage peace. They costume it, caption it, filter it. While secretly hoping you're still watching, let's get real. Why do you think they suddenly became a motivational speaker on Instagram the moment you stopped chasing? Why the gym selfies, the new me quotes, the fake deep captions about healing and boundaries and inner peace? It's not growth, it's guilt, it's panic dressed in self-help. Because when you left, they didn't feel free. They felt exposed. You were the cover, the emotional blanket, the one who always cared. And now that you're gone, they're freezing, but they won't show it. Instead, they build a fake fire, hoping the illusion burns long enough to keep you guessing. And some of you still believe the performance. You see a smile and your heart drops. You see them with someone else and it crushes you. You think, how can they move on so fast? Was I that easy to forget? No, my friend, you weren't easy to forget. You were impossible to replace. That's why they're performing. Because if they were actually happy, they wouldn't need to prove it. You don't prove peace, you feel it, and you damn sure don't stage healing if it's real. But they know you're still watching, or at least they hope you are. Because as long as they can control the story, make it look like they're thriving without you, they don't have to face the reality of what they lost. The truth would wreck them. The truth would scream, you had gold and you threw it in the trash. And their pride can't carry that truth. So instead, they decorate the dump. Let me ask you something, and be brutally honest. How many times have you gone to their profile just to check if they're doing okay? How many times did your stomach turn, seeing them happy? How many nights did you stare at that one post, wondering if it was about you, or worse, if it was about someone new? Let me set you free. It was always about you. Every post, every caption, every flex, every glow-up. It's about showing you what they wish they actually felt. But inside, it's panic, drowning panic. They thought your silence was temporary. They thought your detachment was just a phase. But when they realized you're really not coming back, that's when the internal collapse began. Because the one they were sure would always text back didn't. The one who forgave everything walked. And now their whole identity is unraveling, quietly, privately. But trust me, they feel it. Because you weren't just someone they dated. You were the difference, the anchor, the one who loved them through storms. And now they're on their own. With followers, with likes, with surface-level flings, but no peace, no real love, no safety, just noise. And beneath that noise, panic. Type this in the comments and lock it in your spirit. Their peace is fake, my silence is real. Let that be your shield. Let it remind you that you don't need to perform, you don't need to post, you don't need to prove. Because when you walk away in silence, you let time and truth do the talking. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that your peace doesn't beg to be seen. It speaks for itself. Stay with me, because next we're revealing the moment their memory of you starts to haunt them harder than their pride can hide. 4. What you offered was rare. They realize it too late. They didn't know it was rare until it was gone. That's how most people treat gold when it's in their hands. They think it's common. They think it'll always be there. They treat it like junk metal until it slips through their fingers and hits the floor with a sound they'll never forget. That's what you were to them. Rare, real. A love that most people never even get close to, but they tasted it, got used to it, and then tossed it aside like leftovers they thought they could come back to later. But let me tell you something brutal. You can't reheat what you left out too long. You can't make warm again what you let sit on the counter while you entertained fast food attention and low-effort flings. You were a fresh, home-cooked meal, nourishing, made with time, made with love, made with intention, and they left you there, forgotten, while they chased distractions that never fed their soul. And now that they're hungry again, they want to come back and microwave what they let rot. But that plate, that kitchen, that version of you, it's closed. For good. Because now they remember. The texts you sent, just to check on them. The way you noticed the little things. How they liked their coffee. The music they listened to when they were stressed. The way their voice changed when they were hiding pain. You were tuned in. You showed up. You stayed, even when they gave you nothing back, even when they fed you silence. You offered consistency. You poured your time into them like love was an endless river. But rivers dry up too, when they're taken for granted. Now they remember, but only because your absence has made space for silence to echo. That's the cruel thing about memory, my friend. It doesn't speak when you're still giving. It screams when you're gone. Your voice? It's in their head now. Not because they miss you romantically, but because they lost something sacred and can't find that level of care anywhere else. Your presence? It's haunting. Not because you're reaching out, but because they know they don't deserve to. They scroll through your old texts. They reread messages they once ignored. They replay your voice in their mind, trying to feel something real again in a world that feels fake now. Because the truth is, what you gave came from a place they didn't know how to hold. And now that your warmth is gone, the world feels cold. And no amount of new faces, flirty comments, or rebound distractions can replicate the fire you used to bring. But here's what hits them hardest. The door is shut. You're no longer that version of yourself, the one who would wait, the one who would explain, the one who would try just one more time. That version, you buried them. And what stands now is someone who remembers their value, someone who doesn't pour into broken cups, someone who doesn't answer the door to people who slammed it before. Let me scold you gently for a second. How long did you try to prove you were worth staying for? How long did you beg with your silence? How many chances did you give while your own needs sat starving in the corner? They didn't see it then, but now they do. Now, in every quiet moment, they realize they ruined the one thing that actually gave a damn. So don't you dare feel guilty for walking away. Don't you dare feel bad for being unavailable. You are not cold. You are done. And that's different. You are not bitter. You are wise. And wisdom knows this. What is rare must be protected. And you, my friend, are rare. Say this with me and type it in the comments like a vow to your past self. I was rare and now I'm gone. Write it. Burn it into your memory. Let it be the line they can't cross again. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that what you offered was real and now it's unavailable. Stay with me. Because next, we're diving into what happens when you stop reacting and they're forced to face the truth in silence. 5. When you stop reacting, they start remembering. Your silence isn't empty, it's a mirror. And the moment you stopped reacting, that's the moment they finally had to look into it. No more distractions, no more deflections, no more blaming you for asking for too much. Now it's just them and the truth, unfiltered, uncomfortable, and for the first time, undeniable, because when you stop reacting, you stop feeding their fantasy that they had control. And that's when the power flips. That's when the remembering begins. Not the kind they post about, the kind they wrestle with when it's dark and quiet and no one's left to impress. Let me break this down for you, my friends. When you were reacting, arguing, texting back, explaining, defending yourself, they felt in control. You were still in their emotional orbit. You were still plugged in, still chasing closure, still trying to make them understand. And that made them feel superior, important, like they could push your buttons and you'd come running with proof that you still cared. But the day you stopped, that's the day their ego took the first hit, because nothing haunts a manipulator more than the absence of control. Nothing rattles someone with a superiority complex like not being able to trigger you anymore. Your silence. That was the reset, the shift, the moment they stopped thinking about how they felt and started remembering what they lost. Imagine this, a mirror. But not a foggy one, not cracked, not distorted, a crystal clear mirror that forces someone to see every inch of themselves, the lies, the mistakes, the patterns they always blamed others for. That's what you became when you went quiet. You stopped protecting them from their reflection. You stopped playing the role of emotional janitor, cleaning up the messes they never took accountability for. And now, with no one left to blame, they're standing in front of the one thing they've always avoided, themselves. And let me tell you, it stings, because your detachment didn't say, "I'm done with drama." It said, "I've evolved past this." You stopped reacting, and that silence became a void where they expected chaos. They wanted you to yell, to cry, to beg, because that would have made it easier to demonize you. But instead, you gave them stillness. And that stillness, it forced them to remember, not just what they did, but who you were, the loyalty, the calm, the presence, the patience they mistook for weakness, the consistency they never matched, the depth they couldn't replace. Let me ask you something raw and real. How many times did you react just to prove your worth? How many times did you over-explain just to be understood by someone who never cared to listen in the first place? How much energy did you burn trying to be enough for someone who was emotionally bankrupt and still blamed you for the overdraft? Now you know, now you see it, and your silence isn't about revenge. It's about reclaiming your energy, because when you stop reacting, you give them back their chaos. You return the baggage that was never yours to carry. And that's when their mind starts spiraling. That's when every fake moment of peace gets interrupted by the ghost of your presence. The way you cared, the way you showed up, the way you made them feel understood without them even asking. You were the clarity they didn't appreciate, the calm they didn't protect. And now their mind is replaying you like a record they can't shut off. Not because you're texting, not because you're chasing, but because you're not. And that's what they never expected. That's what breaks them. So say this with me and type it in the comments. My silence became their mirror. Make it a mantra, make it a memory, make it a wall they can't climb anymore. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that when you stopped reacting, you didn't just walk away, you upgraded, you elevated, you evolved. And stay with me, because next we're diving into a truth most people run from. No one fears losing what's always available, but once you become unavailable, that's when they start falling apart. 6. No one fears losing what's always available. No one fears losing what they think they'll always have. That's the trap, isn't it? You made yourself so emotionally available, so endlessly loyal, so beautifully consistent, they forgot you had the power to walk away. They treated your presence like sunlight, warm, constant, reliable, something they didn't have to earn, something they didn't have to respect, because they thought it would rise again no matter how carelessly they slept through the day. But then the eclipse came. You pulled back. You disappeared. And now they're sitting in the dark, wondering how they were ever blind enough to take that light for granted. Let me say this clearly, my friends. Scarcity creates value. That's not manipulation. That's reality. You can give someone all your love, all your loyalty, all your time, and they'll still take it for granted if they think you'll never leave. But the moment you become unavailable, the moment you protect your energy, guard your heart, go silent, that's when the fear kicks in. Not fear of losing love, but fear of facing what life looks like without your warmth in it. Imagine this. Every day the sun rises. It lights up the whole sky. It doesn't ask for thanks. It just shows up. But one day, a sudden eclipse blocks that light. The temperature drops, the animals go still, the whole world pauses. That's you. That's what your absence feels like. You were the one who showed up for them without question. You gave without demand. You listened without conditions. You healed without asking for payment. And now that you've gone quiet, not to punish, but to protect yourself, they don't know how to function in the dark. And now they feel it. Not in a dramatic movie-like moment of realization, but in the little things, in the silence after they send a post and wait for your reaction that never comes. In the moment they hear a song that once meant something and you're not there to smile when it plays. In the nights they scroll through their phone and your name doesn't light it up anymore. That's the eclipse. That's the void. Because what they lost wasn't just a person, it was an energy, a feeling, a peace they've never been able to manufacture on their own. And now they're starting to understand something you always knew. You weren't just a source of attention, you were a source of emotional safety. And now that you're no longer available at a moment's notice, they finally see what they were standing in, what they were wasting, what they can't get back. You didn't walk away to hurt them. You walked away to protect yourself. And let me scold you gently here. Why did it take so long for you to pull back? Why did you think loving harder would fix someone who wasn't even meeting you halfway? Why did you wait until you were burned out just to realize you were the one keeping the light on? Now it's your time to rise, but in private, quietly, powerfully, no announcements, no explanations, just distance, just space, just boundaries, because when you stop being available to people who made you feel disposable, you begin to understand the weight of your own presence. You begin to realize that being the sun in someone's sky is not a weakness, it's a responsibility. One that should never be handed to people who wear sunglasses indoors and pretend they don't need the light. Say this with me and type it in the comments right now. I'm no longer always available. Let that be your new identity. Let it remind you that your value doesn't drop just because someone failed to see it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that your energy is sacred and access to it is earned, not assumed. And stay with me, because next we're diving into something even more brutal, the truth about regret. Not the kind they admit, but the kind that lingers in silence and grows into obsession. 7. Regret isn't loud, it's lurking. Some heartbreaks hide in silence, but scream in memory. That's what they're living with now. Not a loud, dramatic heartbreak they cry about online, but the kind that sneaks up when they least expect it. The kind that shows up when they're alone, scrolling through their gallery, and they find you. That old message, that picture, that memory, the one they swore they moved on from, the one they laughed off like it was nothing. But now, it haunts them, because regret doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just lingers, quiet, subtle, paralyzing. They won't text you, "I miss you." Their pride is too inflated, their ego's too afraid. But trust me, they miss you in every space where you used to exist, in every place where your absence is now louder than any words could ever be. They scroll through your photos, not to like them, not to engage, but to feel something real again, to remember what stability felt like, to taste the emotional safety they never found again after they let you go. Let me tell you something raw and unfiltered. They messed up, and they know it. Maybe not right away, maybe not the day you walked, but over time, regret set in like a slow poison, because you don't forget someone who saw you, someone who loved you at your most unlovable, someone who gave without demanding, stayed without begging, and cared without keeping score. And now that you're gone, now that your energy is off limits, they realize just how rare that was. But no, they won't post a sad quote about losing you. They'll post a gym pic, a fake smile, a filtered selfie, because it's easier to perform than to confess, easier to fake strength than to admit they lost something sacred. Because to admit they miss you would be to admit they ruined it. And that kind of ownership, most people can't carry it. So what do they do instead? They lurk. They linger. They check your stories from burner accounts. They revisit old conversations like archaeologists digging up something ancient, trying to understand how they fumbled something so precious. But they'll never reach out, because the silence is too deep now. Your detachment is too real. They sense that this version of you, the one who's finally healed, isn't someone who can be manipulated with a simple "hey." Let me ask you something, and be honest with yourself. Why do you think they never apologized? Why didn't they say, "I made a mistake"? Because that would require vulnerability. That would require facing the shame of what they did. And people like that? They don't heal by owning their actions. They cope by pretending it never hurt. But the truth is, it did. It still does. Every memory of you now comes with a sharp edge, a reminder that they had someone real and let them slip away. And the worst part? They know they'll never find that kind of love again. Not in the next relationship, not in the next hookup, not in the next 50 heart emojis sent by someone who doesn't know their darkness the way you did. You were the calm in their chaos, and now that you're gone, everything feels louder, everything feels unstable, because what they had wasn't just affection, it was home, and they burned it down thinking they could just build another. But there's no blueprint for what you gave, no replacement for the energy you carried. So say this with me and type it in the comments like a final truth. They regret it, but they'll never say it. Let that be your closure. Let that be your reminder that silence isn't absence, it's confession. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you don't need an apology to rise. You just need peace. And stay with me, because next we're walking into the most terrifying truth of all. What happens when your calm becomes the storm? They never survive. 8. When you walk away, they start chasing shadows. When you walk away, they don't chase you. They chase the ghost of what they lost. That's what happens when someone fumbles a soul like yours. They don't get peace. They don't get closure. They get haunted. Haunted by the warmth you brought. Haunted by the light they basked in without ever earning. Haunted by the way your presence made them feel whole, even when they never deserved that kind of healing. And now that you're gone, they're not chasing you. They're chasing shadows, shadows of a connection they'll never recreate. My friends, you became the standard. You became the blueprint, the feeling they search for in everyone else. And that's the cruel joke life plays on people who take love for granted. You don't realize what you had until you try to replace it. And now they're out there, testing cheap imitations, hoping someone else makes them feel like you did. But it never works, because your love didn't come off a shelf. It came from the deepest place inside you. And that kind of energy can't be faked, can't be copied, can't be bought. Imagine this, they're in a pitch-black room, running around trying to catch your shadow. But here's the problem, there's no light left. You were the light. You were the source. And now that you've gone cold, that room stays dark. No matter who walks in, no matter how many bodies they entertain, no matter how many times they pretend they've moved on, they're not chasing people, they're chasing the feeling you gave them, the peace you carried, the fire you lit in places of them they never dared to explore before you. And let's be brutally honest, they thought you'd come back. They thought the door was just cracked, not locked. They thought you were bluffing. But now that you've stayed gone, now that your energy has stayed silent, they're starting to feel it in their chest, that quiet ache that grows louder every time they hear a song you loved, every time they sit in a room that still smells like your laugh, every time someone new falls short of your level. That's not nostalgia, that's realization, and it cuts deep. But here's the part they'll never tell anyone. They're embarrassed, not just because they lost you, but because they lost you for nothing, for pride, for ego, for games. And now, all they can do is relive you in memory, revisit you in private, watch you from a distance while you rebuild yourself in silence. And you're not bitter. You're not spiteful. You're done. That's the difference. You walked away not to punish them, but to save yourself. To stop watering a garden they refused to tend. To protect the parts of you that they trampled on like your worth was disposable. And now they're left with the mess, the regret, the silence, the shadow. Let me scold you with love. You were never too much. You were just too bright for someone who couldn't handle the responsibility of your light. And now that you're gone, now that you no longer explain, react, or chase, they're stuck chasing the ghost of someone who used to forgive them. But that version of you doesn't exist anymore. So let this be your final affirmation, and type it in the comments like a closing chapter to their memory. I became the standard, and now they chase shadows. Let it burn. Let it echo. Let it remind you that walking away wasn't weakness. It was the moment you became untouchable. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that your love was never disposable, and now it's inaccessible, because they didn't just lose a person, they lost the safest place they'll never find again. And if this spoke to your soul, press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and carry this truth with you always. You don't have to make them pay. Your silence already did. And here's the truth, my friends. When you stopped chasing, you didn't lose them. You freed yourself. Your silence became the storm they never prepared for, and your absence became the mirror they can't unsee. So let them chase shadows, because you're walking in peace now. If this message hit home, like this video, subscribe for more Stoic truth and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. And comment below to seal your power. I walk away and they chase shadows. Let the world feel it. Let your silence speak louder than their noise ever could.